Think we're live. Sound check, sound check. Sound check. Oh. Can you believe that just as I was about to go live, half an hour before I was about to go live, right? Half an hour before I was about to go live, we get family problems. My brother-in-law's got woman problems, which are quite upsetting to hear about. So, yeah, it's a bit late on the sub. How's everybody doing? How's y'all bitches doing today? Normally, I wouldn't really go live on a Sunday night, but Addy, innit? Addy's not doing them Sunday night lives he used to do, is he? Addy's not doing them Sunday night lives. Addy used to just destroy everybody moving between 6 and 8 p.m. on a Sunday night, but it looks like he's taking a break, so I might have to step in and fill in. How's everybody? Can everybody hear? Sound check okay? Give me the thumbs up if you're okay for the sound. Actually, let me just also quickly change some stream parameters in YouTube so I can see all your comments. Here we go. Everybody's here. Okay. Cheers, Ahmed. Ahmed in here. Gee, we started at 12 down to 9. How the fuck did that happen? Big up Dexter Rico. Big up everybody. Big up yourself. Right. Our friend Ingram, hopefully he's on his way. Tried to get Ingram on yesterday because people don't understand, like, when you're doing a live and you've been talking for 3 to 4 hours, it's just, trust me, you get burnt out. So when Ingram comes in, it's so much easier. He just takes over the show. So, well, we're low latency. Okay, so there's going to be a little delay on the comments. Hey, Damien's here. Welcome back. Well, this is my friend's channel. So YouTube, if you're listening, this isn't my channel. This is my friend's channel. I'm just a guest, all right? Anyway, let's get this cracking in just a sec, guys. We're going to be going in on last night's boxing action. Right, there's going to be a little bit of a delay on the comments due to a setting that I've messed around with on YouTube, okay? So that's a shame. So what we might get on this stream is a better quality picture, all right? But the comments, there might be a slight delay. So I will get back to you on them comments. Let's just get straight into it. I'm waiting for Ingram, really, hopefully to turn up. Because, you know, you've heard my thoughts on last night's card. Look, let's just start with this. What would you give to those of you who watched Josh Warrington versus Mauricio Lara, the Katie Taylor fight, and to those of you who also watched the Conor Benn fight? Let's just start off with the basics. What did you think about the card last night? Give the card a score out of 10. There's Deontay Wilder doing his Baywatch impression. This guy just gets cringer by the second, but we'll talk about that another time. But what would you give as a score for last night's card based on what you saw? And if anybody's got any comments to start off with how they thought, you know, should I tell you something, right? Should I tell you something? I listened to Addy's show very, very quickly. He did a live today, and I just like to say Addy's done a tremendous job, yeah. And it's so great to see how far he's progressed, yeah, over on DAZN. But let me just say something, right? The one thing I will say is, whenever I hear pundits talk about atmosphere at fights, that's when my bullshit meters just starts to switch on. Do you know what I mean? Like, whenever I hear pundits start talking about, oh, the atmosphere was this, the crowd sounding like this. Because, look, I'm not accusing Addy or anything. I'm just saying in general, right? When people start using the atmosphere to cover up for shit cards or for shit fights, that's when my bullshit meter begins to just go up a little bit slightly. So, like I said before, atmosphere is very important when you're live at a fight. Obviously, you know, like I said before, Addy's just telling people what it's like to be at the fight. He was there at the fight live. But for me personally, I'm not saying Addy, but other people, they do tend to use, because you hear Eddie Hearn post-fight, right? And Eddie Hearn was saying, oh, but you know what? Oh, you know, it's a shame that the fight ended after 2 rounds because, you know, Josh Warrington headbutted so-and-so 150 times. You know, Eddie Hearn was saying, but the atmosphere was great and, you know, all the Leeds fans were cheering. And listen, I understand atmosphere is important, but atmosphere isn't more important than great fights. The bottom line of it is, as far as I'm concerned on last night's card, the Conor Benn fight was a complete washout because Adrian Granados never really turned up to fight. Adrian Granados turned up to take a paycheck and survive. And in some ways, you know, Adrian Granados taught Conor Benn a lesson. You know, he did, didn't he? He taught Conor Benn a lesson. Oh my God. I can't believe we're going to be banning people in 2 seconds. Can you believe this shit? Just banning people in 2 seconds straight. So listen, it is what it is, right? For me, like the Conor Benn fight, like I said before, Adrian Granados is more than a journeyman, okay? Because he gave Adrian Broner a run for his money. So I guess you could say he's more than a journeyman, but there's a certain way to go about and open up journeyman, right? You have to be crafty. These are guys who are used to surviving. These are guys who are used to being the B-side. These are guys who are used to being brought in to get beaten fights, isn't it? So when you're fighting journeyman, you have to go around in a certain way. You have to break them down. You have to pick your shots. You have to set traps. And Conor Benn did none of that. He got involved too much, and he was just swinging away and swinging for the hills. And like I said before, the Conor Benn fight for me wasn't an entertaining fight. It didn't really show to me that Conor Benn's a world level fighter at all. The Katie Taylor versus Jennifer Hand fight, I personally didn't think that was a great fight to watch. Let me know what you think about that. I didn't think that was a great fight to watch. And the main event ended after 2 rounds. So I'm just saying, right? I'm not trying to bash, but I'm just saying atmosphere is great, right? But atmosphere doesn't trump top fights. Bottom line, like atmosphere it doesn't matter if the card is shite. It doesn't matter if the main event is anticlimactic and ends in 2 rounds. Just let's be honest. If that was a Frank Warren card last night, yeah, right? If that was Lyndon Arthur versus Anthony Yard 2, and the fight had ended in 2 rounds, yeah, due to headbutts, do you think that people will be coming on the internet, right? Or do you think people will be saying about, it'd be a different story, wouldn't it? So just whenever I hear about the atmosphere, I do start to worry a little bit. Let's have a look at some of these comments here. Dave Lane says, I'd like to see Ben in there with somebody for the British now. It's boring fighting these over-the-hill world fringe fighters. Well, that's not going to happen, is it? Because Conor Benn has signed a 5-fight deal with Eddie Hearn. And part of the 5-fight deal with Eddie Hearn, really, Eddie's hooked him in on getting him a title shot. To be honest, right, can I be honest with you? And again, if Ingram pops in, I'll ask Ingram this. But if you're Conor Benn right now, let's be honest, where would you rather be, DAZN or Sky? Just think logically. Forget about Eddie Hearn, Eddie Hills, whatever you want to call him, Lego here, whatever, right? Forget about all that for a sec, right? Just talk about Conor Benn. What's the bigger platform, DAZN or Sky Sports box office? If Conor Benn really believes in what Eddie Hearn is saying, if Conor Benn really believes that he's the next biggest thing, he's the next biggest superstar in British boxing, then shouldn't he be building himself on pay-per-view? Shouldn't he be building himself towards Sky Sports box office? See, that doesn't make any sense to me. See, if I was Conor Benn, I'd have to have a little think about that. Why he signed that 5-fight deal with Eddie Hearn and DAZN? Because to me, like I said, listen, Anthony Joshua isn't stupid. There's a reason why at the moment Anthony Joshua's not fighting on DAZN UK. There's a reason for that. The reason is because Anthony Joshua knows that at the minute, as it stands, the biggest fights in the UK still happen on Sky Sports box office. And to be honest, I would say after Sky Sports box office, it's quite clearly BT Sport box office. You can't tell me that DAZN UK, right, are a bigger platform than BT Sport right now. There's no way. BT Sport have got the Premiership football, they've got the Serie A, and they've got the Champions League, and they've got the UFC, and they've got the WWE. What have DAZN got? What have DAZN got in the UK? All I've seen, the only rights I've seen DAZN pick up so far is the Women's Champions League. And look, I like a bit of diversity. Look at the keyboard. Look, everybody loves the diversity keyboard. Everybody likes the rainbow keyboard there. There you go. So you guys know, innit? I'm all for inclusivity. But let's be honest, right? Women's Champions League. That's not going to be bringing in any people to the show. As we're joined by Ingram. Listen, this show's. I'm only doing this show really because Ingram's here. If Ingram wasn't here, I wouldn't be doing this show. Let me just introduce Ingram. 1 second. Brother, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Oh, hold on.
Can you hear me?
Hold on. Let me turn up so I can hear you. Hold on 1 sec. All right, Ingram?
I'm good. How you doing, brother?
I can hear you. Guys, I've got the speakers on in the background. Is the echo okay, guys? Let me know if the echo is okay. Ingram, let me just say this, right? Never feel like you have to come on this show or never feel pressured or whatever. And like I said, let me just quickly get this out in the open and do this, right? Live in front of everybody else. So obviously we had a little bit of a problem with the previous channel, which we're not going to talk about. But I had a whole program, right, of shows in my head, yeah, that I was thinking of doing, especially in the run up to Anthony Joshua. The plan was originally actually to ask you if you wanted to do the post fight for the Anthony Joshua Usyk fight after you've done it on your own channel. was going to wait
Love
till
to.
you did it and do that. So,
Would love to.
I don't want you to ever think that Ultra's just trying to use me to get a few more views on this channel. Or,
no, bro. It's never been one of them. It's never been one of them ones ever. And I'm not an arrogant person to think those sort of things in the first place. You understand? I just see you like a brother, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's no problem. So, just for people who don't know, right? We're going to see what happens at the minute. We're going to see what YouTube are saying about these videos. But I already know, right? So if we do Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk, some of the big fights, I know exactly what shows are going to be done and who's going to be on these shows and who's coming on. Because I've already asked people. I've already got a couple people lined up. Only a couple, only like 2 or 3. So I know exactly what's going to happen. So Ingram, great to have you on as usual.
Absolutely.
It's always a night off for me when you're on because it means I don't have to do no talking. That's the reason why I bring you on, because I have to do no talking. All right. So it is what it is. Do you know what? For a laugh later on, we might bring in your arch nemesis, Toby Players, for you to talk to as well.
Toby, good, lovely Toby. He's been to be honest, we've had a good little chat on Instagram. So much love to Toby. Yeah, much love to him. Good
Toby
man.
Players, aka Bird of Matthews. All right. AKA Bird of Matthews. All right, let's start with it then. All right.
By the way,
go on.
By the way, I love your face mask.
Well, listen, I've got Dean White in it. I've got Dean White after me, and a few of that. Dean White, but I've got a few people. It's not Dean White. Dean White's cool, but there's a few people in it who want to stab
you up.
Yeah, the new one. So at first, Ingram, it was Ultra's not really a black guy. He's a white guy pretending to be black. Yeah. So now the new one now that they're dishing out is I'm actually not really black. I'm now a light skinned guy pretending to be black. So that's the new one now that they're dishing out on me. So you can't win. Either way.
You look pretty. You look pretty black to me. You even blacker than me.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. You're from the islands like me, so you know in it. There's how it goes in the West Indies. Got plenty spicy people out there in the old island. Right. Let me get onto the show. Before we get onto the show, Ingram, I've got a curveball for you.
Yeah.
Can you see the screen at the minute?
I can see the screen, sort of.
Okay. Well, can you see this?
Oh God, yeah.
Hold on a minute.
Dear me.
I don't know, Ingo. I know you're a married man, but I just want to run some pricing by you right now. All right?
No, listen. It's Jessica McCaskill. That's it.
Jessica McCaskill. Yeah, but
that's my standard.
That's your standard. Yeah, but is Jessica McCaskill selling pictures of lingerie of herself for £30 a touch? That's the question.
But is Ebanie Bridges undisputed champion?
Well, let's have a look. 30 quid. What are you saying about this, Ingram? Are we adding this or not?
Absolutely not. No.
There's not a lot of boxing on this Ebanie Bridges site at the minute. Look, if you just look, let's do a scan of the website. So we've got the logo at the top. We've got the little hero at the in the middle there. We've got a little bit of an introduction. Then we've got, this is interesting. So we said this last night, an autographed boxing glove, 175 smackers there.
No.
You in for that?
No, I'm not interested. No.
No, 175. Oh, okay.
No.
And if you
give me Jessica McCaskill any day of the week, but no chance. Sorry.
And look, here's the boxing part. Look, just hidden somewhere near the bottom. There you go. There's the professional fight record. Hey, there we go. Can you see? Look, it's supposed to be a boxer. Yeah. Look, just no mate. Look, a few gloves, but look, and it's just nearly there near the bottom. There you go. Look, there you go. There's the professional fight record there. It's almost an afterthought on this website, and yeah, it is what it is. All right. I've thrown you that curveball. I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? Really? I think, like I said, my opinion on British boxing at the minute is, I genuinely think that we're starting to see a decline in British boxing. To be honest, I think when we're at a point really where we're sort of. I think Eddie Hearn's playing a little game with Ebanie Bridges. He's got her on there doing the weigh-ins and her lingerie to try and draw a bit of attention, to some of these cards. And I just think when we've got to that kind of level in British boxing, you look at the level that we're at in a minute. Like 15 years on, we're still talking about Khan and Brook. There's talks that fight's going to be happening later on this year if they can find a broadcaster. Still talking about Khan and Brook. We've been talking about Fury and AJ for 50 years. Go for it.
Yeah, but remember, I said a long time ago that boxing is becoming like the WWE, and Eddie Hearn's it's like the McMahons.
Yeah,
Eddie's like Shane McMahon, and then his dad's like Vince McMahon, and that's what it is. It's just become like a freak show. That's what it is now. That's all it is, a freak show. I mean, any promoter that can have his own show and he's just sitting there and talking absolute bollocks for Hearn Unleashed. I mean, absolute bollocks.
Has he got? Has that actually broadcast? I've heard that he was going to do. They were going to do a whole series on a day in the life of Eddie Hearn on DAZN, or what it's like being a promoter or something. I have heard something that he's got something coming up like that.
He's got a book on him and how to be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows you the gall of the man. And I'm not here to slag him off, but what I'm saying to you is that boxing has become a joke, and it is really a joke. And that's where the UFC have really got it down to a T, where the best are fighting the best. No excuses. No excuses. The best are fighting the best. Entertaining fights. And there's not this business of Adam Smith saying, like, is it the end of the road? He had one defeat. Is it the end of the road? There's no comeback. Yeah, there's no comeback from here.
Every week it was the end of the road. Adam Smith like Bwtm, didn't it? Oh, we go to the end of the road. Every week was the end of the road for Adam Smith, isn't it?
It's the end of the road.
Do you remember when Anthony Joshua took his first loss to Andy Ruiz? And Eddie Hearn and them were saying, if Anthony Joshua was to lose the rematch, he might have to retire. What? After only losing to one man ever twice. Plenty of boxers have only ever lost twice to the same man, right? And being a unified champion, they were putting it that if he loses this rematch, he might have to call it a day. Proper embarrassing, but I don't know. Go on, so jump in.
Their commentary team have had many bad nights, very many biased bad nights, but they never once have been questioned about the fact that they, one more bad commentary night and it's the end of the road for them. No, you get more and more crap.
Well, the funny thing is, with the stable that Sky have now just picked up, Sky have actually started picking up a few fighters, as you know. They've picked up Huey. They've picked up his sister, Huina, a.k.a. Savannah Marshall.
Yes.
They've picked up Josh Taylor. They've got a few fighters there. Right. So could it be the return of Adam Smith on the cards? Could we have celebrated the demise of Adam Smith and Johnny Nelson a little bit too prematurely?
If they could bring back the original ringside show, they could do it. That ringside show was class. If they could bring back Ian Dark, that would be the one. Bring Ian Dark back to the commentary. That's what they need.
What about we'll go on to the main topic of the show. We'll use Johnny Nelson as the lead-in. So start with Conor Benn, because I know you're a big Conor Benn fan. Johnny Nelson, Jesus, Johnny Nelson. I said on Twitter, right? That I want to see Johnny Nelson on Good Morning Britain first thing tomorrow morning, making a public apology for suggesting that Conor Benn could beat Sean Porter after the absolute pedigree chum that I had to sit here and watch over last night. Your thoughts on that?
Johnny Nelson also said that Conor McGregor versus Mayweather was a 50-55. Johnny Nelson's had some humdingers, I'll tell you. Belly
was more technically skilled than Usyk. I think that'll be etched on Johnny Nelson's gravestone. No disrespect. But I do think when Johnny Nelson, heaven forbid, when he eventually does pass away, I do think they will etch on his gravestone, Bellew is more technically skilled than Usyk.
And he also said that I think he said at one point Anthony Joshua was the second coming of George Foreman. Did he not say something like that?
I remember that. I do think I remember that. I do think I remember something like that. Yeah. Guys are crap.
When you can bring yourself to that level of when you sold your soul to those levels, I think if that man's liable to say anything for a bit of cash. That's what it seems to for me. Honestly speaking, that's what it is. Conor Benn. I mean, God forbid. I mean, did you see that fight last night? Did you watch that?
Very, very closely. Very closely.
And could you imagine him fighting Sean Porter? Did you see what happened when Granados actually rushed Conor Benn against the ropes? Did you see what Conor Benn did?
Tell me.
He rushed him against the ropes and Conor Benn didn't know what to do.
I think, look, for me, right, I'm not one to call for changes of trainers and all that stuff. I don't, I'm not a trainer. I don't need to get involved in that. But what I would say is this from Conor Benn, right? Mm-hmm. This telegraphing and this loading up of hooks that he keeps doing in fights. Jab, literally almost non-existent last night. He had Granados pinned against the ropes, and all he was doing was headhunting with these telegraph, big left and right hooks. No setting up. I will give Tony Sims a bit of credit. Tony Sims did say to him, to me, the one time that I saw Conor Benn having a little bit of success against Granados, when he pinned him against the ropes and he threw right hand to the body first and then came up with the left hook and showed him a different look. He started to land a few there. But for me, and to be fair to Tony Sims was telling him to jab the up and down to the body. He wanted him to touch the body as well and then go there. And he kept telling him, vary the jab, go up and downstairs with the jab. But the thing is, right, and you said it on your chat about half an hour ago. Now, I say exactly the same thing on my chat yesterday, on my live chat yesterday. I'll tell you how you know Conor Benn's in trouble as a fighter. Fitness is extremely important in the sport of boxing. You know that. If you're not fit to box, like, you know what I mean? The reality is you're going to get taken out. Do you know what I mean? One of the only people that I've ever heard of that can actually, you know, turn into a boxing ring completely unfit and dish out beatings is actually James Toney. I used to speak to Paddy Fitzpatrick in the gym many years ago, and he used to tell me loads of stories about James Toney would come into the gym for sparring, overweight, huffing, puffing everywhere, looking like, you know, he was about to breathe his last breath, and he was still dishing out arse whoopings in the gym. Says he's like one of the only fighters he's ever seen kind of do that, right? But when you hear Conor Benn put so much emphasis on fitness, I've been smashing it in the gym. I'm hitting all my times. I'm doing 10 mile runs. Yeah, Conor, that's fantastic, yeah?
That's what he meant to do.
Yeah, but when you get to that elite level, the level that you're talking about, the Sean Porters, the Danny Garcias, the Errol Spencers, that ain't going to be enough. Them 10 mile runs you're doing and all that, that's not going to overcompensate for your obvious lack of skill. So give me your thoughts on that.
Like father, like son. You remember when Nigel Benn, I am dangerous, yay, Finsbury Park against Michael Watson. Dangerous. And he came out to the ring with the hair done. In fact, I remember the day because I went to get my hair done. I couldn't get my hair done because Ben was in the chair getting his hair done, and the whole of that Romford Road was blocked off because of Ben getting his hair done for that fight. Finsbury Park that night, and Ben was throwing wild hooks. He was in trouble in a fight before that against Anthony Logan. Logan put Ben down, almost knocked Ben out. One left hook later, and Logan was laid out flat. Now, that was loading up with hooks. What did Ben do when he fought Watson? Watson just tucked up tight and waited, and Ben just threw them big wide hooks, big wide hooks. Watson just tucked up nice and carefully, waited, and then knocked him out with a jab because Ben punched himself out. Like father, like son. I hate to say it. And it looks like Conor Benn's going to have to get knocked out for him to see sense, for him to go to America and remodel his career. That's when I think Conor Benn may do something in the sport. But at this point in time, I think he's all on that. I'm smashing my targets. I'm going to prove people wrong. And he's got that tunnel vision. But unfortunately, he's got a tunnel vision, but he hasn't got the skills to match that tunnel vision. And so therefore, what's going to happen is he's going to run into someone. I mean, Paynord already showed what his chin's about. He's going to when he runs in somebody, actually can punch him back on that chin and clip him on that chin. Then he's going to have a rude awakening that just smashing your targets isn't enough. That you need to learn to use your jab. You need to be a bit more patient in the sport of boxing. You need to move your head more. You need to know how to fight off the ropes because he doesn't know how to fight off the ropes. You need to know distance and timing. You know how to double the jab. You need to know how to work the body and look to set traps. You can't just be winging in big right hands because you knocked out Sammy Vargas.
Yeah, and absolutely.
It's actually shown as well. Is Conor Benn that big a puncher? I mean, Granados, as I said in my show, Granados came to give the Americans a scouting report on what Conor Benn's about. He came out with an intention. I'm not going to involve myself with this guy. I'm going to use a nice jab and I'm going to box and move. And he took his right hand in the first round. He took it. He went, okay, that's what it's about. And Granados kept moving his head when he kept getting hit with the right hand, moving his head. And I went to myself, you know what? This guy isn't as much as I thought he would be. Let me try something for a second. Let me rush this guy. So I'm using a jab. All right. Ben's calling me in. I'm going to rush him. So he rushes him. He throws a combination at Ben. Ben's taken by a surprise because Granados has actually come at him. And Ben's stuck in between the ropes. And then Granados steps off. And I don't know if you saw that. But to me, it seemed that Ben was all machismo. But when it came down to when Granados wanted to have a fight with him, didn't quite know what to do when his back was against the ropes. So he's another one of these guys that are defensively irresponsible. He's defensively irresponsible coming forward, and he's defensively irresponsible going backwards. So I don't know what kind of fighter Conor Benn is, but if he takes that same style against a Sean Porter, he's going to get absolutely destroyed.
Ironed out.
Ironed out. And if he fights Adrian Broner, they're talking about that way, Broner's going to find the gaps in between his punches and land heavy shots in him too. Don't mess around with Adrian Broner, because that sort of gut fight is the sort of fight where Broner will pick them little short shots and put Benn to sleep. I'm telling you.
Well, listen. It's very what you're saying. To be honest, it's very doable because we'll talk about Lara and Warrington later on. But again, when you're dealing with wide punchers like Conor Benn, and Conor Benn's an extremely wide puncher, taking himself off balance, nearly spun himself around in a 360 last night. You know what I mean? You go through these guys straight down the centre line. If you can duck underneath, roll underneath, make a miss, and come back down the centre line. And he is wide open. I have to say, like, the reason why I talk about trainers, right, is I'm not like a big one of going on trainers, but I'm watching this fight. We know Tony Sims can get fighters fit. I've never ever questioned Tony Sims' ability to get fighters fit. He's actually known for running quite a serious, training regimen down at the Matchroom gym, like in terms of, getting fighters to do their circuits, do their runs, your strength and conditioning. He's very, very big on getting fighters fit. Never ever heard a bad word about Tony Sims getting fighters fit. But Conor Benn has signed like a 5-fight deal with Eddie Hearn, I think, in the zone, right? And the game plan is for him to fight for a world title at the end of that deal, right? Or to fight for the world title at the end of them fights. For me, last night's fight was a massive wake-up call. Massive wake-up call to him and also to the trainer. We need to see some defensive responsibility from Conor Benn. We really do need to see that. For me, that fight was a massive warning that, if he continues to fight and he continues to approach training camps, right, in the way he is, in the way he's doing, he's going to be an accident waiting to happen, isn't he? Absolutely.
Been saying it from day one. And here's another thing. From what I've heard, don't know how true it is, but when Matchroom sign fighters, they tell the fighters which trainer to go to.
Of course, yeah, of course, yeah. These none of these fighters are growing up in the gym, shadowboxing, thinking, "Fuck me, it'd be so great to get trained one day by the great Tony Sims." None of them.
No,
not one of them doing that.
Now you see, and the thing is, I'm a coach myself, not a boxing coach, but I'm a coach, and I've coached for almost 25 years, and that's from grassroots level right up to international level. And I can tell you now, you cannot train everybody. And any trainer that says, honestly, he can train everybody is telling you a pack of lies. Because certain trainers may say they can do a job with you, but they might not get the best out of you. And I don't think Tony Sims could get the best out of Conor Benn. Actually, a guy who I would like to see him work with is Jimmy Tibbs. Because Jimmy Tibbs got the best out of Nigel Benn. And whoever trained Nigel Benn when he was a professional, at that point where he turned from the English boxer to the American fighter, whoever looked after Benn then, I would like to see. Even Kevin Rooney, I wouldn't mind seeing working with Conor Benn. There's a guy that throws punches, it's combination punches like with Mike Tyson, combination punches Rooney. I would like to see him fight with a guy that's going to either tighten him up or make him more offensively creative. So
absolutely.
Either you're going to tighten that defense up or you're going to make him more offensively creative, which means that, okay, he might not have the greatest defense, but his offense is so good that his offense becomes his defense.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you mean. Because when you get in the ring with Conor Benn, as an opponent, you pretty much know he'll throw the odd jab in here and there, but eventually what he's looking to set up is a big fucking left hook from way out or the overhand right. It's one of them two that's coming.
Yeah. And so, like his old man, it was like the only jab he knows is when he goes to see the doctor or the hospital. He does not know. He does not know what a jab is, I'm afraid to say. He doesn't. And I'm not slamming Conor. I'm just saying it is what it is. And unfortunately, we have a situation in British boxing that because you give constructive criticism about a fighter, you automatically become a hater.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you don't go with the script. And shout out to my boy there, Kenny, Bwtm, loyalist right there. You've got right there that man. He's a good brother.
Let me just say, it's always the same with these guys. They criticize you, they call you a hater, and then when these guys get fucking knocked out, they disappear. They always disappear. They never come back and say, do you know what, Ultra? Or do you know what, Ingram? Yeah, you got it right. You called it a while ago. Like, this guy is an accident waiting to happen. Let's fucking disappear. Let's disappear. Eubank Jr. I got a lot of this last night. If you
I like
people
him.
out there,
I do like him.
Well, they're comparing Conor Benn to Chris Eubank Jr.
They can't do that.
Well, they're saying that. Well, they're saying both of these two have got no jab. Well, I think Eubank's got a bit of a jab, but they think both of these two have no jab. They both telegraph their shots. They both swing wild left and right hooks. They both don't really have that much of a creative offense. They're a bit one-paced. What do you think to that? Quite a few people have more than one person coming in thinking that.
The people that say that, they've got a point, but they're getting it from the wrong angle. I would suggest to both Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. both had little to no amateur experience. And that's what you get when you have little to no amateur experience and you're more or less learning your job on the road. That's what's going on. None of these men were were ABA champions. None of these guys went to the Olympics. None of these guys were world championship material in the amateurs. So if that's the case, what are you expecting?
I mean, Dave Lane says the only similarities, they both had hair transplants. have you actually seen Conor Benn's hair transplant? Have you actually seen it?
I think he had a chin transplant, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Have you seen the pictures of this? This is just unbelievable. I mean, I have to show you this. I've never seen it. He looks so different in it. This photograph is currently circulating all over the. Scheisse. 1 second. I'm just going to drag it up here. There we go. See that? Yeah. That's doing the rounds on Twitter. There you go. There, it looks very, very different. Right. Okay. So we'll go through some final comments on Conor Benn here, and then we'll move on. Dave Lane says Gabe Rosado versus Conor Benn.
I was just mentioning his name. That was the guy I was looking for. The name Gabe Rosado versus Conor Benn. Really?
Rosado can punch.
Rosado's a bit too much for Conor Benn, to be honest, because I think Benn would play into Rosado's hands, and right. Rosado's battle weary. He knows how to have a fight, and Gabe Rosado, I think, would stand in the pocket and fight with Benn. And if once he knows Benn can't punch the way that Benn is advertised as being a puncher, and the only reason why Benn is being advertised as a puncher is because of his old man. Because who has Benn knocked out for you to say, you know what? Flip me, you can punch that kid.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. The Sammy Vargas thing was interesting. I'll give him credit for that. One thing I will say about Vargas is he did get steamrolled by Virgil Ortiz.
Exactly. And Vargas has been around a long time.
Yeah.
Remember Vargas fought Amir Khan. Remember that?
Yeah. Didn't he drop him or he had him hurt? He didn't drop him. He dropped him. Yeah. I think everybody's dropped anyway. Everybody's fucking dropped Papadom Chin Khan. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but all those guys could punch. You notice all those guys you talk about who dropped Khan could punch. Do you think Conor Benn could beat Marcus Maidana?
Well, now, yeah, I would say now. Marcus Maidana hasn't been in the ring for ages. He's really overweight and he's living the life. Prime's no chance. No chance.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Marcus Maidana that fought Amir Khan.
I just think Marcus Maidana's too. Marcus Maidana would look like a big welterweight to me. You know, he looked quite big for the weight. I mean, Conor Benn's not even a big welterweight. Conor Benn is not a big welterweight. You know, these guys, Maidana, battle tested. Also quite unorthodox as well in the way they go about and throw those looping overhand right punches and things like that. Do you know what I mean? Nah, you can't. No, Marcus Maidana gave Floyd Mayweather Jr. legitimate things to think about in their first fight. Legitimate things to think about. So no.
I'm just trying to, you look at certain fights. Okay, Conor Benn versus Danny Garcia.
I tell you what, here's one I said the other day. I think, right? You can tell me if you think I'm wrong on this. I think that Josh Kelly, given 4 or 5 comeback fights to come back and shake the ring rust off, I actually genuinely believe that Josh Kelly's got the beating of Conor Benn. You know, I can understand Conor Benn being the favourite in that fight. I can understand people leaning to Conor Benn as the favourite. I might even say Conor Benn stoppage is the favourite. But I honestly think, that if Conor Benn can't get Josh Kelly out of there, I can't see a way he's going to win that fight. I think Josh Kelly actually wouldn't surprise me if Josh Kelly schooled him and actually got a very, very wide decision over him. That's my opinion. What do you think about that?
I heard a story that Eddie Hearn was asking Adesanya to give up his belt.
Yeah, There's no that. I think that's been pretty much well established. I don't know if it's just rumours. That's what I heard as well.
Would you stick Conor Benn with Adesanya?
No. Not. There's nothing to suggest right now that Conor Benn is quite on the level of Avanesian. No way. Avanesian went to Spain and fought Kerman Laraja. I wouldn't mind seeing Conor Benn and Kerman Laraja because Laraja can whack. Laraja can legitimately punch. Like Lou DiBella was commenting and talking about Laraja as a potential world champion, before Avanesian went over there and did him twice in his own backyard. Now Avanesian's battle tested. He's battle tested against a solid level of opposition. He's been a world champion. You know, I know Conor Benn showed a lot of heart against Payno. He showed a hell of a lot of heart in the Payno fight to keep getting up, but there's levels to this thing. There's levels to this thing, and I'm not sure what's going to happen to him. Gone.
Is Payno even area? Yeah,
level? Part-time kickboxer as well. Tong Po.
Jesus Christ.
Part-time kickboxer. Part-time kickboxer. You know, it does worry me. You know, look, I don't think Conor Benn has any of the fundamentals. I think when he gets hit, when he gets rattled by somebody who's not a part-time kickboxer, it's going to be curtains for him because I don't think he has a plan B. And you could say that's a bit like Nigel as well, to be honest. And I love Nigel to pieces, but you know, they did say that about Nigel, didn't they? It's like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, but the difference is Nigel could punch like a mule. This guy don't punch like a mule.
This
guy's advertised as punching like a mule, but he's not he does not punch like a mule. He's advertised that way, and there's a difference.
Well, let's just quickly we'll switch up because I've been yapping on about this for 36 minutes. I want to ask you about this Josh Warrington fight. Let me ask you the first question. If that fight had gone the distance, or if that fight had not been stopped on cuts, how do you think the ending to that fight would have gone?
Lara would have knocked out Josh Warrington again. I'm sorry. Straight up.
Go for it. Explain why. Go for it.
Because Warrington kept getting tagged with big shots in between. First, he was getting caught with big shots in between, right? And he was buzzed a couple of times. Even in that short time, he was getting caught with the right hands in between. Warrington is a good fight. He tried to fight a bit more composed and a bit more conservative, tucking the high guard and trying to march forward, which I understood that as a different strategy. But I just think as the rounds would have gone on, Lara would have caught him with something nasty and you'll see it all over again. I think Warrington was very wary of Lara's punching power, and I don't think your chin changes in one fight. I just think that if you watch the fight, he was getting caught even though he had his guard up, Lara was punching straight through the guard, and you could see he was still hitting Warrington on the chin. So I think the fight was just warming up, but I think the fight would have gone similar way. Lara would have stopped Warrington again. I'm afraid to say Warrington's not a puncher. He's not a puncher, and he's in leads. So at some point, it would have kicked off. Warrington would have lost his head because he's like, I'm a Leeds fighter. I'm going to give the fans what they want. And it would have been a war. And then going down that same way again against Lara, don't matter if it's home or away, you're going to get caught in the chin again, and the legs are going to do a dance, and then Lara would have finished the job off. Maybe later on, but he would have stopped him again, I think, in my opinion.
Do you know Tony Bellew in the post-fight? He said Jesus Christ. Tony Bellew of OnlyFans fame, by the way. If anybody is subscribed to OnlyFans, you can...
the Invisible Man.
The Invisible Man. Jesus fucking Christ. I'll get his diet plan up in just a second, but that's another story. No, seriously, he's still got that fucking diet plan going, which has been reduced on Tony's orders. I'll get that up on the screen right now. There you go, 12-week plan. So there you go, Ingram. If you put on a bit of weight after Christmas, because we're getting into the Christmas period right now, got up on the screen for you there. You got Tony Bellew's 12-week training plan. There you go. And let's just see if it's still on offer. Oh, I think the offer's actually finished. I bet he watched this show. No, he hasn't. It's still there. There you go. You see this clock here that says 4 hours and 23 minutes, yeah? You've only got 4 hours and 23 minutes to pick up this massive Tony Bellew discount. That clock's been running, for the last 6 months, just so everybody knows.
Let me explain to you about these these pages that look so the same. It's a template they use. Some organization said to him, look, Tony, mate, here's some money for you to make. X amount of money in X amount of time. Put your face to it. We'll draw you up a template, and you'll be fine. And we'll give you the money. Just give us some money for setting this template up for you, and we'll stick a website on it. What I call it again? I can't recall the page they call it again, but it's just like an advertisement page. The amount of clicks you get on it and the money you make, we'll split it down the middle. You'll get X amount of money. We'll get X amount of money, and that's it. That's how it works. Tony Bellew doesn't give a damn about this damn page. As long as it brings in money for him as extra residual income, that's what it is. And that's what this is. residual income for Tony Bellew. Smart, because most people do.
Let me tell you, I like to see. Listen, I've got a feeling that somewhere up in the north of England, yeah, in Tony Bellew's living room, there's a fucking 150 of these fucking 12-week plans, yeah, sitting unsold in his lounge. Because I'll tell you one thing,
Quite possibly.
Quite possibly. I mean, the last person you want to look like after a 12-week training camp is Tony Bellew. But let me say, but he said. Josh Warrington came into that fight with a completely different game plan. That's what he said.
Geez.
He said Josh Warrington boxed, right? And he said, quote, Josh Warrington came in with a completely different game plan to how he did in the first fight. I didn't see that at all. It looked like exactly the same Josh Warrington to me. What do you think about that?
I think that Josh Warrington was wearing earmuffs in this fight. He looked like he'd gone down to Joe Gallagher's gym and taking some advice from Joe Gallagher to keep his earmuffs up. That's what he looked like to me. Seriously, because what he just had his earmuffs. He looked like Anthony Crolla. He looked like Anthony Crolla the way he put. Crolla used to put his hands up and then throw them punches. But that's the way that Josh Warrington looked. The thing is, Warrington cannot punch, and with a style like Warrington that wants to engage, recklessly engage, which he does. And he because he's done it so many times in his career in front of his fans at home against guys who can't punch, it's fine.
Well, to be fair, you got him at Frampton. You got to give him credit for that. Frampton can whack a bit.
Flip side. I told him one.
Frampton attacked the Cruz in the first round.
No, come on, Ultra. Frampton moved up in weight for that fight against Warrington, right?
That's true.
1, 2. Right, you see how big Warrington is compared to Carl Frampton. That's why Warrington jumped. I told everybody how that fight would go. Warrington jumped on him for the first round and thought he could bully the smaller guy. Why didn't Warrington come flying at the trap the same way against Lara for the second fight?
Right. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Right. For me, I didn't see any adjustments really. I know people talking about head muffs. I didn't see any adjustment. I mean, I thought for Warrington, right? Again, I know he's not much of a boxer, right? But I
like him, though.
Yeah, well, I thought the game plan from Warrington would be quite simply ease your way in the early rounds. Don't get involved in any firefights. I thought, like I said, Lara gives you plenty of opportunities to punch him because he's such a wide puncher. So, slip roll, shoot down the middle. There's plenty of opportunities to punch the guy. He's not a defensive wizard by any stretch of the imagination. Take the fight into the 4th, 5th, and 6th round, put a bit of pressure on, and see how the fight goes. But for me, he got stuck into the fight straight away. Put his chin up in the air. He was hooking with a hooker, which listen. I mean, I'm not a big believer. They say you shouldn't hook with a hooker. I believe in boxing. There's a time and a place for everything. But he was literally like chin up in the air, literally trading hooks with a guy brutally, and he was knocked out brutally. 6 months ago, it was a bad knockout he took. And he was basically, to me, straight up in his chin up in the air, doing exactly the kind of same stuff he was doing in the first fight. For me, I have to question the game plan going into that fight at all, because it didn't look like he was boxing carefully at all to me.
I don't think, like I said before, I don't think you can have a game plan like Warrington if your whole career has been based on fighting in Leeds in front of a big crowd of people cheering, "Come on, Josh!" and that's what you've been doing. That's what you've been doing. And then they say, oh, yeah, the crowd's going to be there for Josh Warrington. Some guys who fight with a crowd, it cheers them on, it gets the best out of them. Some guys who fight with a crowd, it brings out the worst of them. I mean, and Warrington, unfortunately, fights like a hooligan when it happens. He just comes in steaming with punches. Oh, let's get chin down, just get stuck in. Let's get stuck in, mate. But unfortunately, when you get into a guy who's got a nice right hand to settle you down and keep you quiet, that's what the problem is. Warrington could do. It's like Kell Brook. When they're big at the weight, they can be bullies. But when they meet a guy just as big in the weight as them and can punch them back, it's a different situation. You saw that when Brook fought Spence. You see it when these guys fight guys who physically are strong as themselves. It's a different matter altogether. And Warrington couldn't blast his way through Lara, so he tried it again. It don't matter how hard he trains in the gym. A guy like Lara, you're gonna have to change up. If I were Warrington fighting Lara, I would have told Warrington, you know what? It'd be much better fighting away from Leeds. Fight away from Leeds. Fight away from your fans. Go fight somewhere else. Forget about the crowd. Just focus on getting that title. Get a good game plan. Get that title back, and then defend your title at home. against a raucous crowd in Leeds, but don't fight a guy like Lara, who's a puncher who could take your lights out at any given time. You've been knocked out brutally by him before. What the hell do you need the fans cheering you on and making you walk onto another right hand or left hook again? You don't need that. Keep away from that. So I think Warrington got away with it with that headbutt. I think he must have thought to himself, you know what? Jesus Christ, that guy still punches hard. That headbutt, fair enough, fine. I'll fight someone else another time. That's what I think.
Do you know, he signed with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn. The whole point of him signing with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, or what I was told, right, was for him to go and get these quote-unquote big fights, right? Big fights. You know, there was talk about a unification fight with Shaka Stevenson, and Frank Warren never had the money and all this stuff, right? So here's my point. He was supposed to get all these big unification fights, right? In the last year or 2 years or whatever it is since he signed with Matchroom, he's vacated his belt, right? He's not been in any really big fights, and he's now on the cusp now, right? After just coming out of the whole COVID period with boxing being down due to COVID, he's now facing the prospect of having a fucking trilogy with Mauricio Lara. Do you know, if you'd have gone back 2 years ago after he fought Lee Selby and Carl Frampton, right? Almost back to back. I think there was a fight in between, but this guy pretty much fought Selby and Frampton back to back, and he had one of them fights in Ellen Road in a fucking stadium, right?
Yeah.
A couple years later, after that, if you told me that Josh Warrington would be no title, right, about to go into a trilogy with a guy who was basically supposed to be a stepping stone before he went over to America and had some big fights, I would say you're smoking crack. I think the management there has been shocking.
But I warned people before when he signed a Matchroom, I said, that's the worst mistake of Warrington's career. Should have stayed with Frank. People have said to me, you're talking shit. You hate Eddie Hearn. Well, okay, justify to me now what Eddie's done for him.
I think the thing with it is here is Ingram is Eddie Hearn has never ever believed in Josh Warrington, right? He's never believed in him. If you look at how he treated Josh Warrington the first time around, right, when Warrington was there, and then when Warrington left and signed with Box Nation, because when Warrington signed with Warren, there wasn't even BT Sports, it was Box Nation. And basically, Hearn's attitude towards it was, well, it doesn't matter because Warrington wasn't that good enough anyway. And basically insinuated that Warrington was trying to get out of a fight with Lee Selby. Do you remember another one of these big fights that Eddie Hearn spent about fucking 5 years talking about and never made the fight? Do you remember Selby and Warrington? Eddie Hearn was going to make this big fight and all this. And he basically insinuated that the reason why Warrington left Matchroom is because he didn't want to fight Lee Selby. Warrington went to Frank Warren and then ended up fighting Lee Selby pretty much fucking straight away anyway. So, I mean, Eddie Hearn has never, ever believed in Warrington, ever, as a top world level fighter, right?
Let's go back.
So why would he sign with him? No, go for it.
Let's go back. We don't have to go there. Eddie he is a first class. He's got a PhD in lying, right? Now, look at Kell Brook. Kell Brook was unbeaten. He was IBF champion. The world was at his feet. Fights against, was he Jesse Vargas fell through? It was fight against, the Thurman fight fell through. Who else was he meant to go to American fight? There were big fights that Kell Brook was going to fight.
Yeah.
Couldn't get a single fight of any of those guys. What does he end up doing? Moved up 2 weight divisions to fight Gennady Golovkin. So if you're going to tell me that Hearn didn't care for Warrington, then what did he care for Kell Brook? Okay, but what did Hearn care for AJ, his prize fighter, his cash cow? He didn't care that much for AJ, but he took the Andy Ruiz fight, which was a dangerous fight and a terrible fight in terms of matchmaking. He could have fought Trevor Bryan instead. But because he didn't want to do business with Don King, he went and fought Andy Ruiz. And look what happened there. So if you're talking about Eddie here caring for any fighter, he cares for no fighters. Doesn't care if you're his golden boy, and he doesn't care if he just doesn't know boxing. He's a promoter, and he loves himself. Eddie Hearn loves himself, and he loves money, which is fine, and that's what he's in it for. He's a promoter. But don't get it confused, and don't ever get gassed that thinking Eddie Hearn cares for fighters. He doesn't care a hell for fighters. If he can make a quick quid on you, he'll make a quick quid on you. And if you don't believe me, look at the amount of fighters he's had that could have become pay-per-view fighters, but instead they have been bashed up. Guys like, what's this guy? Not Eggington was one. He was going to be the next Mayorga. Was he next Mayorga, they were saying?
The next fraud.
Eggington. Wait, Cheeseman.
Cheeseman is 25 years. Cheeseman is 27 years old, right? I honestly believe. Right, exactly. I honestly believe, the age of his actual brain inside his skull is close to 80. If you match punishment he's taken at the age of 27, Ted Cheeseman.
There's another one. Lewis Ritson.
Oh my God, the Geordie Golovkin, the Geordie Golovkin.
Okay,
Jesus, how does he get away with that? By the way, no one pulls him up on that. I need to have a word with him about that. The Geordie Golovkin.
Can we keep going on about these guys? Remember when he turned around and told us that Frampton could never get a world title shot if he left Matchroom? As soon as he left Matchroom, he flipped and got a fight against Santa Cruz. 2 fights for Santa Cruz. What the hell?
Yeah. And he got the world title. And he got the world title fight in Belfast. And but he got it on Box Nation.
Yeah.
Kiko Martinez. It was Kiko Martinez. Yeah, exactly.
And you talk about caring for fighters. Remember Scott Quigg had to go to Belfast and negotiate that fight with Frampton, and he went there to do an interview, post-fight for Frampton fight, and Eddie was nowhere to be seen.
Right.
Okay.
There's loads.
So when you talk about, there's loads of situations where Eddie has shown he just does not care for fighters. And the thing he had a problem with Kell Brook is because Kell Brook exposed him, and he didn't like that. I've been there for Kell. I've done this for that. I've done that for Kell. I've done this for Kell. I've done that for Kell. Really? And then after he lost his fight to Golovkin, he sticks him in against Sean Porter. When I said he should have fought at light middleweight, I thought Gerald Hurd.
Well, let me just quickly go back to one thing, right? And that's the Sky and DAZN dynamic. And this is what I don't understand, right? Or I know you like me to call it dead zone, right? If you're Conor Benn now, Eddie Hearn is saying Conor Benn is the next big star in British boxing and possibly the next big global star, right?
Hold on. Global star. Hold on. Let me hold there. People say that Anthony Joshua is a global star, but I didn't know a global star was one who's looking up at the lights. He's not in America. He's not a global star.
He's not a global star. Shevin was in the same club as Anthony Joshua one night in Miami. So Shevin's been around him. Shevin was, I think, near the VIP. Anthony Joshua walked in. Nobody in the club knew who he was. They knew he was somebody because he has that big muscular bodybuilder look. But I think a couple of people thought he was either in the NFL. I think people thought he was in the NFL, but nobody knew who the fuck he was. He's not a global star.
Anthony Johnson, isn't he a WFC UFC champion?
That's the one. Yeah, when he went to America and he sat at the fucking Golden State Warriors game, they called him Anthony Johnson. They don't know who he is. But let me go back, right? If you're Warrington, I'm just trying to get into the thought of Warrington's handlers. So Sean O'Hagan. I forgot the other guy who's Steve somebody who's his bloody manager who manages all those fighters up north.
Yeah.
Steve.
I can see his face now.
I'm just trying to think. Hold on a minute. You've got Josh Warrington doing this now. Josh Warrington's about to go into a trilogy with a guy he was supposed to knock over in a comeback fight. He's now going to trilogy on DAZN, on Dead Zone, on a channel that nobody's watching. So there's no prospect of Josh Warrington building up to a Sky Sports box office. There's no prospect. That's it, Quasi and Dean. It's Steve Wood. That's the one. There's no prospect of Josh Warrington being on a BT Sport pay-per-view or a Sky Sports pay-per-view. Not only is he now stuck in this fucking endless merry-go-round, no world title, right? Stuck in this endless merry-go-round with fucking Mauricio Lara, but he's also doing it with all due respect on a channel that just doesn't have the bite, doesn't have the viewership. It's got next to no sport on it as we speak. No football of any kind is currently. Maybe that will change. They've got no football, no Premiership football, no Champions League, no nothing. These fighters who are signing these agreements with DAZN. Where do they think the exposure is going to come from? What do they think is going to happen here?
Wait. Well, simple is that what else has Warrington got on offer? They're working with Matchroom. They're the biggest promoter in the world. Well, they've got to say that, and the money looks nice. So why are you going to go anywhere else? Money talks first, sense come afterwards. That's with a lot of these boxing managers. Money comes first, sense comes afterwards.
I'm not really a financial expert when it comes to these things. I would have thought eventually, right? Let's just say they kept that world title, right, and ended up being on Sky Box Office or BT Sport Box Office in some kind of fight. Especially where he's got a big following in Leeds. Who's not to say, a couple of thousand of them would have bought the pay-per-view and he could have made a bit of money off that.
The one thing you can't knock Eddie Hearn for is that he's got a loud mouth and he's in your face all the time. And the thing is, in terms of promotion, he's brilliant. And in terms
100%.
In terms of selling, as he says, I'm going to do 400 interviews today. I don't care. That's your job. Get on with it. But he's very good at what he does. The bottom line is, if Warrington leaves Eddie Hearn, he's not going to go to Frank, bits and pieces promotions, is he? He's not going to go back to Frank Warren. So who the hell's going to want Warrington?
The one thing I will say about Frank is, all right, personally,
I love Frank's my boy.
No, listen, that's fine. That's fine. I would just quickly say, if I was Frank, to be honest, I don't think Frank would.
Take it back.
I think with Frank, it's difficult because Warrington is a huge ticket seller in the northeast. So actually, I'll probably say what Frank would take him back, because with Warrington, you can do huge shows up in Leeds. You can do huge shows up in Leeds, and then you can stick the likes of Dubois and the Anthony Yards and give those fighters and give your other fighters exposure that way. So I think he probably would. But I think then again, and I think Frank looks at it. And I think Frank's like, look, I did everything I could for Warrington, and there's no way really that Ern's going to be able to beat the job that I did with him. So I think from that perspective, I don't think Frank's sort of losing any sleep over it. But one thing I would say is Frank is a Queensbury is a 2-bit promotion compared to Matchroom, but BT Sport has got infinitely more pull than DAZN. BT Sport have Premiership football. BT Sport have Serie A. BT Sport have Champions League, and BT Sport box office. Right, for me, like I said. Warrington in a big fight on BT Sports box office, they could have him crossing over and show him during the Premiership football. They could show him, walking the pitch with the fans during a Leeds match. They have that certain pull, BT Sport, that I don't think DAZN have at all. Because for me, like I said, the key for DAZN being successful is they have to pick up other sports. No one's really going to tune in to watch, Ebanie Bridges, parade around in their knickers, to be honest. They have to pick up the Premiership football rights. They have to pick up some kind of Champions League rights, and that was the secret of Matchroom's success at Sky. We all know, really, a lot of it was down to the platform they had in Sky and that crossover there with the football fans market. But they haven't got that on DAZN.
Absolutely. But you see, Frank and Eddie are two different type of things. I mean, if you want show, you go to Eddie. If you want substance, you have Frank. Yeah. When you talk about promotions, although Dead Zone is what it is, there are things that Eddie can do that Frank can't do, and I think that's the thing. Eddie's in your face. Eddie's there all the time. He's shouting your corner off, and when you got the best promoter in the world, I didn't say that, the best promoter in the world fighting your corner, particularly if you're in England, you've got that. Eddie Hearn has that X factor that Frank doesn't have. And I think they would think, you know what, let's stay with Eddie. It's 3 fights, good bit of money here. So it's show versus more than substance. And I said, money, he'll get paid better. Well, I would think he gets paid better with Dead Zone than he does with Frank.
Yeah, I can believe that. I think he's a very, very good. I don't want to, but I'll be honest with you. I think he almost con is the wrong word, but I think, like I said before, I'll say this. You look at Kell Brook, in my opinion, Kell Brook should have left Eddie Hearn a long time ago. When the writing was on the wall for Kell Brook, when they couldn't bring, and Jesse Vargas is not a big name in boxing, all right? So look, the bottom line is, right, when Eddie Hearn couldn't deliver Jesse Vargas for Kell Brook, for me, writing was on the wall, probably time to go to America, and probably time to go and do a deal with Al Heyman. And there's been a few of these fighters where you look at them and you look at the way they've been treated. I'll tell you what, I'm looking at some of these young fighters they've got on Matchroom right now. I'm looking at Joe Cordina, who I think is a tremendous talent. I mean, just this guy is nowhere to be seen. Joe Cordina, completely and absolutely MIA. Joshua Buatsi's career, in my opinion, on Matchroom has been a disgrace. This guy 4 years ago, it's been 4 years, right? So we've had another Olympics since he won an Olympic medal, right? And got signed to Matchroom. Right, and how many meaningful fights has Joshua Buatsi's been in? He's still got his L plates on 4 years after he won the Olympic medal, and then we're talking about how he's going to unify the division and how he's going to be this and he's going to be that, and he's a once in a generation fighter. It's been 4 years and he's done nothing with him. So for me, there's a lot of these fighters. I sit and I question, what the fuck are they doing? And I do think maybe Eddie's just got the gift of the gab. Maybe that's just what it is, the gift of the gab. He's telling them, don't worry. It will be better. Don't worry, guys. It will get better. I will do this. I will do this. It's going to be a bit of a slow start, but blah, blah, blah. Maybe a few of them are getting buying into it.
Yeah, but Eddie's been exposed a long time ago. Just look at the list of fighters that he has that have got absolutely smashed to bits. Just poor matchmaking and just no direction with him. I mean, okay, look at Dillian White.
Oh, Jesus. Soon to fight Chris Arreola or Jermaine Franklin.
So if he fights Chris Arreola, that's the guy that he knocked Jermaine Stavern when Stavern fought Arreola. Now he's fighting Arreola. He's knocking Deontay Wilder. That's Deontay Wilder's leftovers. That's Jermaine Stavern leftovers. I mean, So where does that take? What is Dillian Whyte doing? And he's fighting that fight in the UK, by the way, not America. So how does that build the American dream with Dillian Whyte?
No sense. It's another one. Dillian Whyte's another example. Like what he's doing on the Zone and Matchroom, to be honest, to me makes no sense. I mean, to be honest, as it stands right now, they don't even have the Anthony Joshua character dangling in front of him. It's not even like, you know what I mean? Like him and Anthony Joshua are going to be on the same channel or whatever, yeah? So, you know, they can dangle that fight down the line. It looks like at the minute Anthony Joshua's going to be staying with Sky anyway. So Dillian Whyte, the way he's been moved around, like I said, everybody keeps talking about how he needs a world title shot. But if he needs a world title shot, put him with Anthony Joshua.
By the time he gets a world title shot, he's going to be shot to bits. He's going to have no durability whatsoever by the time he fights, because he's going to be in so many wars. By the time he actually gets to fight for that world title, he'll have nothing left in him. I'm telling you now, he's had too many. Look, that year, you look at that year he fought, look at the fights he's had. Rivas, Parker, Chisora, Helenius. Look at the guys he's fought. Povetkin twice. And you look, as he's moved up in competition and class, he's been getting dropped. And I don't even think that Dillian Whyte is as durable as he once was in his career. So he is another one that is on tender hooks. Jermaine Franklin could stop him. People laugh at me. Jermaine Franklin could stop him. And Ariola is heavy-handed as well.
He's very heavy-wheeled, yeah, 100%.
You know, so
go on. No, go on.
Dillian Whyte, I said it a million times. Dillian Whyte should be fighting for the WBA title against Trevor Bryan. Now, you're probably going to, even though I spoke to Mike Tyson's former trainer and the current trainer of the WBA champion, Trevor Bryan, his manager and trainer, Stacey McKinley, up to a couple of days ago, he said to me, there's no money in a Daniel Dubois fight. But now, after Dubois just smashed that guy in that one round, look, unique, that's how you make an American debut. I don't care about the opposition. That is how you make it, because the Americans go, dang, that very punch.
Very, very, very well received. My mate Dev Sani, who, you know, Dev was there, and he posted up on Twitter and Instagram. He actually did a 360 of the American crowd as Dubois won, and trust me, he got a massive reception. Like they were literally standing up on their feet and they were cheering for Dubois. So they like the fact that, you know, you can go in there and he can do the business. Like, I'm not saying he's going to become a superstar in America, but what I'm saying is, based on obviously the 360 live that Dev did from the crowd, that they did take very well to Dubois. I think even Dubois was taken a little bit aback actually by how much support he had there, because they were genuinely like, you know, go for it.
But Dubois did what Anthony Joshua should have done. But Eddie Hearn and Matchroom are so arrogant. They're so arrogant that they just thought that Joshua was going to go over to America and beat up the fat boy. They're so arrogant they didn't even look into the pedigree of Andy Ruiz and the fact that this guy was all wrong for Anthony Joshua because of the way Anthony Joshua was fighting. This Joshua was open to the left hook and still remains open to a left hook. So that's all put all together. So the fact that Dubois went to America and made a name, that's what Dillian Whyte had to do. Forget these stupid pay-per-view fights he's having in England when nobody's really watching what the hell Dillian Whyte's going. Go to America, get on a big bill, try and get top of the bill, and try and be an exciting fight. One of those fights you should have had, like the Rivas fight or the Parker fight, should have been in America, and they would have been barn burner fights that would have marketed him. More people would have seen him, and I think Dillian Whyte would have got his world title shot. I spoke to Bob Arum. I asked Bob Arum, what do you think of Dillian Whyte? He says Dillian Whyte needs to leave Dead Zone and Matchroom and come to America and fight at ESPN. And then less than a week later, Dillian Whyte was on a plane out to America to find out what Bob Arum was saying. Yeah. And that was the biggest mistake that Dillian Whyte made, was to carry on staying with Matchroom. He should have gone and fought on ESPN and made himself a name in America. Right there is where they made the biggest mistake. And he's still on these damn pay-per-view cards and doing interviews in the UK. And damn well nobody in America knows him. And the only people in America that know him is we got knocked out by Povetkin and got knocked out by Anthony Joshua and the guy who didn't fight Luis Ortiz. That's the reputation that Dillian Whyte is building for himself. I'm not bad-mouthing Dillian Whyte, but it is what it is. If you're going to promote and market a guy, then these are things you need to consider. And when he did fight in America, he fought against a guy called Marvin Tan or something.
Malcolm Tan. The great Malcolm Tan.
Exactly, with about 9 people in the arena. So, I mean, and he's a well-known name in America. See things for what they are. Ricky Hatton was a well-known name in America. Frank Bruno was a well-known name in America.
Huge.
Prince Azim Hamid was known in America. Joe Calzaghe was known in America, right? He went and fought Roy Jones. He went and fought Bernard Hopkins. Dillian White is known in America for what? Anthony Joshua is known in America for what?
I think we've got a troll in here, but I'll just quickly bite on it and then I'll let the ban button just for jokes. Well, Warren is almost bankrupt and Hearn just signed a £1 billion deal with DAZN, but Warren is smart. Yeah, okay. Let me just quickly respond to that. Okay. I know Frank Warren may be bankrupt. I'm not sure that's true or not, but just on this £1 billion deal with DAZN, somebody on Twitter actually sent me the schedule for the next couple of fights that DAZN have got. Here we go. I've got it here. These are the upcoming fights on DAZN. So this is where your £1 billion is going. It's going on September the 11th. You've got Kerman Laraja in Spain versus Chadat. I have no idea who that is. Then on October the 1st, you've got Scardinia. I didn't even know they had light-skinned people in Italy. Versus Doberstein. Sounds like a dog. Doberstein. Sounds like a fucking breed of dog, doesn't it? So there you go. So on October the 1st, you've got Scardinia versus Doberstein. And then, of course, on October the 9th, you've got the big fucking domestic dust-up that everybody's talking about. You've got Liam Beefy Smith versus Anthony CBD Fowler. So I'll let you answer that, Ingram. But fuck me, if this man's got £1 billion deal,
let's talk about the deal they made with Golovkin. That brilliant deal they made with Golovkin.
Christ.
Who did Golovkin fight during that deal? Was it?
I'm just going to get a drink. Talk about Golovkin. I'm just going to get a drink. Go on.
I don't know what to say. What can I say about Golovkin? I don't even want to. I don't want to talk about Golovkin.
I'll tell you the deal. The deal was that he could choose his owner, but they had no fucking say over who his opponents was. They had no say whatsoever over who Golovkin could fight. The deal was something ridiculous, like 100 million for 4 or 5 fights. Plus, he got shares in the company. And what's been going on with Golovkin? The reason why we haven't been seeing Golovkin fight is because they want to push him into fighting with Canelo in this rematch, right? But Golovkin's not interested in fighting Canelo. Golovkin's interested in cashing out, right? Simple. Yeah. Golovkin's interested in cashing out. So that's why he wants to go and fight all these no-names, right? And see out his contract. Or fight Canelo in the last 5 years. Each wants to collect that money. But they want to try and push him into big fights. That was a dreadful deal that they signed with Golovkin, who, by the way, Golovkin is been MIA. This guy was one of the biggest names in boxing 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, but remember,
since he signed that deal with DAZN, he is. No one talks about him anymore.
Remember, the missing piece in the jigsaw puzzle is Abel Sanchez. Abel Sanchez was the one that told us about Golovkin's punching power and Golovkin knocking out heavyweights, and Golovkin was the best fighter since blah, 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 blah. And listen, I had a whole interview with Abel Sanchez talking about Golovkin versus the world, right? Abel Sanchez was Golovkin's gas man. He was his gas man. And since Abel Sanchez and Golovkin the split, he brought in Jonathan Banks, and Jonathan Banks is nobody's gas man. You understand? And since that's happened, Golovkin, nobody cares about Golovkin. And simply because Golovkin's record as a champion is disgusting. If you talk about him being a power puncher, name me one guy, a Hall of Famer that Golovkin's knocked out. Name me name me one world-class opponent that Golovkin's knocked out. He couldn't even stop Kell Brook, who knocked Kell Brook out, who's coming up 2 weight divisions. Could you imagine Julian Jackson fighting Kell Brook?
Oh, Jesus, come on, please. Give me a break.
And they're talking about Golovkin being this
fucking murder. Julian Jackson.
Oh, Lord.
Murder. Jesus Christ.
Julian Jackson's like family, man.
Julian Jackson, get done for murder.
When you're talking about middleweight champions and historically, and talk about, Golovkin would have run through Marvin Hagler. Are you joking?
Nah, no way. No, he couldn't even run through fucking Danny Jacobs. No, I agree with that. Do you know what I mean? Couldn't even run through Danny Jacobs. I would say
these DAZN deals. Look at the guys. Absolutely no personality with these guys whatsoever. They've signed a whole bunch of guys that have got no personality and really nobody cares for. I'm telling you, you look at these guys. Look at the guys they signed in terms of personality.
I think the biggest personality they've got, when I think about personality, I think Conor Benn's got a little bit of a personality. I'm struggling to think about what else they've got over there.
No. I'm talking about when they delved in the transfer market. Remember when they were signing all them fighters?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Like when he signed Demetrius Andrade and told everybody he was going to make him a fucking superstar. And then he had Andrade in the same stable as Canelo, Golovkin, Callum Smith, John Ryder were all in the fucking same stable as Andrade. And Andrade was still fighting Luke Keeler in the fucking Dunkin' Donuts arena in the middle of nowhere for that WBO title. That one, yeah?
Right, there you go. So there you go. It was like him playing Football Manager and then getting a doing cheat mode and getting like 500 million and buying who he wanted to buy without actually knowing what he was doing.
Oh, that's yeah. It was. Terrible. And but do you remember he bought all those bloody amateurs, those amateurs from USA Boxing, people like Nikita RBRB and all those guys. Remember all those amateurs he bought? And he saw world champions, and no one's ever seen them since, innit? Couple of fights, and no. If you remember that guy, what's he called himself? White Chocolate. Let me get him on the screen. Do you remember this guy? This Eminem guy, White Chocolate.
What happened to him?
Get this guy up, Nikita. You guys are in the chat. Remember this guy, Nikita RBRB. And it's
these matchroom defenders. They come in the room and they talk. And I think some of matchroom defenders. These matchroom defenders come in.
This dude's coming in talking about £1 billion. This is where your £1 billion went, mate. This is where your £1 billion went on White Chocolate. Go on, Ingram.
Yeah, these matchroom defenders. You know they're matchroom defenders because of the way they talk. And sometimes I think it's because some of those guys, right, actually work for matchroom. And they don't like to hear the exposure, being them exposed. That's what it is. If it's the truth, though, they just bought guys they didn't know anything about. They have their match guys that fight. They don't know what they're doing. They're a bunch of accountants and guys who should be working in banks. They should have nothing to do with boxing. They've been embarrassment in terms of the sort of things they've done in boxing. Absolute embarrassment.
Really quickly, last comment from Jimmy. Then we're going to talk about Katie Taylor. Then we're going to end it. Jimmy says the Zone until recently had the two biggest stars in world boxing in AJ and Canelo. No other network had that star power. That's correct.
Stop.
Oh, wait, go on. You go. Go on.
Wait. Okay. So Canelo was not a fighter that was originally with them. They signed Canelo, right? What about PBC and all their fighters in the welterweight division? And Deontay Wilder. Let's talk about Deontay Wilder in the heavyweight division. There's nobody in world boxing that punches as hard as Deontay Wilder. Say what you want about him technically, but in terms of one punch knockout power, there ain't nobody in the world that punches like that guy.
My comment on this is very simple. All right, two biggest stars in world boxing, AJ and Canelo. Yeah, Canelo ended up fucking suing the fuckers for not paying him the money or not paying him the money that he was owed on his fights. Ended up taking the fuckers to court and getting out of that deal. All right, so that's what happened with Canelo. He ended up breaching his agreement. So that agreement that he had, what was that? That the biggest deal in sports history was the biggest contract in sports history. Fuck, something like 300 million over 10 fights.
I remember that.
Yeah, lasted about three fucking fights that lasted. And during the 3 fights, this biggest stars in world boxing. Who did they put Canelo in? The biggest star in world boxing. What kind of promoter puts the biggest star in world boxing on pay-per-view? Rocky Fielding with a straight face. Rocky fucking Fielding with a straight face. The guy who got blitzed out and around by Callum Smith in the M&S Bank fucking arena in Liverpool. And you fucking served him up for that WBA regular against Canelo Alvarez. No wonder Canelo fucked off. Anyway, and also AJ, yeah, well, how did he go on the Zone? Well, they fucking stuck him in an arena in the middle of Madison Square Garden against Andy Ruiz, and he got knocked down 6 times and spat his gum shield out. So there you go, Jimmy. There you go. Knocked down 6 times, spat his gum shield out. So the fuck are these guys talking about, man?
Star power. It's okay. Leave him.
Jesus Christ. All right. Kate, here we go. Katie Taylor. Is this woman, or Saint Katie Taylor, as I now call her? Saint Katie Taylor. She can do no wrong, innit? She can do no wrong.
I can't watch her fight. I tell you, I could never forgive her for losing to that part-time police officer, and that's what it was. That part-time police officer beat the shit out of her, and nobody would. Yeah, exactly. And for that fight,
in my opinion, she won both fights. In my opinion, she won both fights.
I don't pay any attention to Katie Taylor. I pay no attention to her, and I think she had a lucky escape against Jessica McCaskill as well. So I got no time for Katie Taylor. I don't pay her no mind. The quicker they get that Serrano fight on, the better. I can't watch Katie Taylor.
Yeah, the Serrano. Well, yeah, we'll see what happens with Serrano.
I love Serrano. Give me some Serrano any day of the week.
Well, Kwazim Din says, we're finishing up. So, guys, if you've got any questions now for Ingram, it's just purely going to be Q&A. So, guys, if you've got any questions, just fucking batter them right now in the comment section. I will ask them all. Kwazim Din is saying, what happened with Anthony Sims Jr. and Yuseleniov? Do you remember when Eddie Hearn, again, one of his big DAZN signings, he signed the Olympic gold medalist, Daniil Yuseleniov, and claimed he was going to make him a big star and put him in a big fucking massive pay-per-view fight with Josh Kelly, where they were going to have that big Olympic rematch. Yeah. Yep. What actually happened was he stuck an Olympic gold medalist on wasn't Fight Camp. What was that garbage they had before Fight Camp with the prospects? Next Gen. That's right. Yep. They had the fucking Olympic gold medalist was undercarding to the likes of Anthony Fowler and Ted Cheeseman, right? In the middle of the fucking York Hall with 3 men and a dog. And Yuseleniov's never been seen since. Olympic gold medalist.
Let me ask you a question. That Next Gen, who's been produced from that Next Gen?
No,
I kept saying about it. Right, they all got smashed to bits, did they not?
All smashed to bits. The only I'm trying to think, listen, Next Gen was I've been banging this drum for fucking 2.5 years about Eddie Hearn's matchmaking when it comes to bringing through young talent. Yeah, everybody you got for Next Gen got smashed. The only person who ain't been smashed to pieces yet is Joshua Bratsey. I can't think of anybody else there. Let's have a look. Anthony Fowler, biggest fight of his career, dropped, and lost. Yeah. As the home guy and the only really big fight of his career. That's Anthony Fowler. Ted Cheeseman's been smashed from pillar to post, for every single episode of Next Gen since it pretty much started. So you can put an X next to him. Lewis Ritson came through on Next Gen. He got beat up so bad, in his first loss. He was pissing blood first thing in the fucking morning when he got smashed to pieces by that Patera. So that's him who got an X next to his fucking face. Who's the other geezers they got on them? There's loads of them. All been smashed up.
Yep. All been smashed up.
Smashed to pieces. Right, let's have a look here. Oh, Jesus Christ. I disagree. This is where we're going to disagree, but we'll go. I'm going to modify this question for you. What are your thoughts on Hughie Fury right now? And Brian Picker's question is, do you think Hughie Fury to Boxer, which is Sky Sports, is a good move?
Yes, I think it's a good move. But what are they getting for Hughie Fury? If Hughie Fury can put those experiences together and become a better fighter, then yes. But is Hughie Fury able to put those fights together that he's lost and actually turn himself into a world-class producing heavyweight? Or is Hughie Fury just European level and no better than that? Now, heavyweights don't mature until their late 30s. So he's got time. We keep saying Hughie Fury's young, but he's getting older. So I don't know whether Hughie Fury. I don't know where we're going with Hughie Fury, because it's like we keep hearing he's getting better, he's getting stronger, he's getting faster. But the bottom line is, on evidence, I'm not seeing it.
I think, look, I'm going to go right on Hughie Fury. I'm not the biggest fan of Hughie Fury. One thing I will say about him, right, I'm not just saying this, but I will say this. I believe he has world-class footwork. I believe his footwork is world-class, and I've always believed that. The way he moves around the ring, again, he has got, I think his footwork's right there with Tyson's, to be honest, in terms of, like, these are big way but the way they move around the ring, do you know what I mean? The way they're able to, I've never, ever questioned the actual footwork of Hughie Fury. I've always said, I think he has world-class footwork. The rest of it, I think, unfortunately, for Hughie, it's going to be a hard sell because he's not entertaining to watch as a fighter, based on any of the fights I've seen. He's not entertaining in the pre-fight. Now, Tyson Fury is not really entertaining to watch, really. I mean, I find it entertaining because I'm a bit of a purist, but really, to the casual fan, Tyson Fury really is actually... You recall the Trade Descriptions Act because he's a big 6'5" guy, 6'9" guy who's absolutely huge and weighs nearly 400 pounds. And you think, he lands one shot and it's lights out, but really he doesn't really knock out anybody other than Deontay Wilder. But so I think, but Hughie Fury, again, he doesn't, he's not exciting to watch. He's not a great talker. Doesn't really have a lot of charisma. He's a fighting man. We know he's a tough fighting man. We know he'll fight anybody. He's got some good names on his resume. We never question, would he take the fight or would he not take the fight? But for me, I think, like I said, he's running out of time. Well, not running out of time because he's young, but I'm not sure how much more chances that promoters are going to give him. And to be honest, we've been hearing about him letting go on this magical right hand now for about a good few years. I see him going fights, and I've never, there's something going on with that right hand. He never seems to let it go. Never seems to let it go. He's very, very lead hand dominant, to be Fury. In a lot of fights, never seen really pull the trigger, step in and throw that right hand, step in and throw that jab 1-2. And Peter Fury's been talking about that. Peter Fury's been talking about him working with Fury on that and coming through on that for some time. For me, it hasn't happened. But you can go.
Let me ask you a tough question. If Fury were to change trainers, would he be a better fighter?
I think at this point, again, I'm not a trainer. It's not in my position to say these kind of things, but I'll give you my opinion. If I was Hughie Fury, I would definitely consider looking at a new trainer or bringing somebody else in to freshen up the camp, because I'm not saying you can't always blame the trainer, because it's not Robot Wars. Peter Fury might be telling Hughie Fury all these things to the fucking cows come home. He might just get in the ring, and for some reason it just doesn't happen. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Even when I used to go boxing gym, coach used to tell me things and tell me what I was thinking, and you just get in the ring, it doesn't happen. So maybe it's one of those things. But to be honest, I think like with Hughie, the future ain't looking bright, and it's not looking orange. With no disrespect, the guy's got talent. He's got very, very good footwork, right? And he's capable of actually being quite elusive in the ring for quite a big guy. So the physical attributes are actually there. But again, like I said before, if I was him, yes, I would definitely consider bringing somebody else in, or just change of trainer. 100%.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think, what would have happened if Hughie Fury had fought Deontay Wilder when they were trying to arrange that fight?
Oh my God! Now give me a timeline for that. Was that when he was with Frank or what? When was that? Jesus, I can't remember. What was Deontay Wilder WBC champion at that point?
He was still champion. Yes,
he was still champion. I would go with Deontay Wilder by knockout then. 100%. I think the Deontay Wilder that beat Bwtm for the WBC title, that is till this day, that is one of Deontay Wilder's best all-round performances. He got on the back foot, Deontay Wilder, and he boxed behind the jab for 12 rounds. He looked great in that fight against Stiverne the first time around. People actually go and watch Deontay Wilder versus Stiverne 1. Deontay Wilder boxes on the back foot behind the jab. And he boxes him, and he outboxes him. I thought he boxed very well in that fight. Very well.
That fight. Yeah,
very well. Fight. So I would go with Deontay Wilder. I just don't think. Like, I'm not a fighter, so it's hard for me to say these things. But when you're at that level, you need a bit of killer instinct. You need a bit of bite. And I don't think Hughie Fury's got that killer instinct. I don't know if there's something missing between the ears, or I don't know if there's something happening in camp. But he don't have that. He don't have that killer. Because he's a big guy, isn't he? He's a big guy. And you expect a big guy like that to have a bit of spite about him, to have a bit of spite on the punches. Do you know what I mean? Not to just sit there dabbing away at the jab. You know the way Hughie Fury dabs around that jab? It's like he's fucking dabbing. It's like he's putting a plaster on somebody when he's dabbing that fucking jab out. Do you know what I mean?
You know what? I think that I actually think two things I question about Hughie Fury. Yes, he's a fighting man, but why does he fight? Why does he box? Does he box because his cousin's Tyson Fury? Does he box because he wants to box? Or does he do it? Or does he do it because he's got no other choice but to box?
Or because he's supposed to be a tough gypsy warrior?
Right. Because I mean, for all I've seen of Hughie, and I've spent a lot of time with Hughie, been in his car.
We've seen he did a lot of interviews with
and I love Hughie, but I just wonder if is it technical? Is it mental? Is it his relationship with his dad? Is his dad and his relationship with dad? Is it become stale? Does he need a new set of eyes? Does he need a different approach? Does he need a break from the sport of boxing to just live life? Get married, have a child, have a wife. These things about Hughie Fury. Maybe if he did those things and maybe had a wife and children, then he might get to a point where he's now got to look after his family. So therefore now some fighters that happens and they become more of a killers because I think, right, I don't want anything happen to my kids, don't want anything happen to my wife. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to take this guy out. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Maybe those things would change the dynamics of Hughie Fury. He's very much boxing and that's it. He doesn't seem to, from what I've seen of Hughie Fury, have a life outside of boxing.
We just got to ask, what about? I don't know what happened between him and Tyson and John. And to be honest, I don't really want to know. It's none of my business. I suspect you probably know what happened because because of,
things happen.
What I would say is this: I think that might have hurt him as well because at the end of the day, Tyson's training out in the States now with Sugar. If Huey had the relationship with Tyson, he could have gone out there as well. Because Tyson's already got Isaac Lowe around him. Isaac.
Remember.
Yeah, go on.
Remember back in the day when Tyson was training, Hugh would be in the background getting all that training, all that learning with all the sparring partners Tyson was using.
Yeah.
Hugh was sparring with them as well.
Yeah. He's been cut from all of that.
Or maybe, just being brutally honest, he's just not good enough. And we're just hoping for something that's never going to happen.
Wait, let me move on. It's move on, but it's linked. Savannah Marshall, and I call her Huina Fury because to me she boxes like the female version of Huey
she does. She does.
She's a very similar boxer. That's why I call her Huina Fury, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you two questions. Let me ask you this first question. Who is the number one pound for pound female boxer in the world? Would you say it's Katie Taylor or would you say it's Clarissa Shields? There's a lot of talk online about who's the better out of the two, who really is. As I understand it right now, the Ring Magazine have Katie Taylor as the number one pound for pound fighter. I actually believe it's because she beat your friend Jessica McCaskill. And I suspect that's the reason why she's number one, because I think McCaskill's in the top 5. And so she's actually beaten somebody who's already in the pound for pound list. And I think that's why she's number one. But just give me your opinion on that. I've got my opinion, but you give me your opinion.
My opinion is you've got a woman who's been undisputed in 2 weight divisions. Shields has been undisputed in 2 weight divisions. Am I correct?
Correct.
1. I think Katie Taylor lost to a part-time police officer, Delfina, and that is the truth. And she arguably scraped it against what's this woman's against McCaskill. I'm not a big Katie Taylor fan. I never have been, and I don't think I ever will be. It's just since the Delfina fight, I've just gone completely off Katie Taylor. When you blow and smoke up someone's ass so much, I just no. So, and I'm not a great Clarissa Shields fan.
No,
but I have to respect what she's done, and she's undisputed in 2 weight categories. And for me, that should make her pound for pound number one. But I'll tell you something else. Another woman that's got to be in the ratings has got to be Amanda Serrano as well. I would love Amanda Serrano to beat Kate. I would like Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano to fight. I'm sick of tired of seeing Katie Taylor. I really am.
I'm just trying to get you a picture of Clarissa Shields' new orange weave. Have you seen this yet? It's messing up. The worst I've ever seen. No. Let me tell you about Clarissa. I will go with Clarissa Shields by far. And I think, it's not about boxing, but the fact that she trains 2 disciplines at the same time and is actually running both the cage and the ring ends any discussion about Clarissa Shields is fighting 2 disciplines. She's fighting boxing and she's fighting MMA simultaneously, and she's winning in both of them. For me, that's the end of the discussion for me.
Isn't Serrano doing the same thing as well?
Serrano is doing the same thing, but in boxing, I would say obviously Clarissa Shields has got that little bit of the edge in terms of what she's done in boxing. Serrano is a far better MMA. Serrano is a legit MMA fighter. Serrano ain't like Clarissa. Clarissa's a boxer who goes over to does a bit of MMA. Serrano is legitimate.
I love Serrano.
She fight both. She easily switch through both. Do you know what I mean? She's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. She's very competent in jiu-jitsu. She's a massive puncher. Out of the 2, if you ask me who's the more naturally talented fighter between Serrano and Clarissa Shields, I would go with Serrano. Because Serrano is legit. She does jiu-jitsu. She can strike. She can do everything.
For me, she's cute. She's good to look at. She can fight. She can box. And she's articulate as well. Serrano's the complete package for me. But in terms of achievements in the boxing realm, Clarissa Shields undisputed in 2 weight categories. You can't knock that. Sorry. That's what it is. You could say, the competition's not great. But then I think that, like I said, if you're going to say the competition's not great, then keep it in the same arena. Katie Taylor fought a part-time police officer who had to take time off work to fight her and beat the crap out of her and wasn't given the decision. So if it wasn't down to politics, that Pearson would have got the win, and we wouldn't be talking about Katie Taylor today. And we might have been talking about Pearson versus McCaskill, which I think would have been a better fight.
I think it was said online, it might have been by Peter Fury. Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields are now both basically on the same UK promotion, right? They're both now signed to Boxer for Sky Sports. So it's pretty clear now that those two are going to be getting in the ring, right?
Yes.
Who do you think wins that fight? Go on, just go for it. Who do you think wins that fight? Do you think it's the biggest fight? I think Peter Fury's on record as saying he thinks it's the biggest fight in the history of women's boxing. Me personally, I remember when Layla Ali was fighting, particularly when Layla Ali fought the likes of Christy Martin. I don't think that female boxing has quite got to those kind of those viewership numbers yet. But give me your thoughts. Just give me your thoughts.
Savannah Marshall, a very good fighter. Very good fighter. I've seen Marshall spar against men. Genuine men who are genuinely good fighters, spar and do very well against them. Very heavy-handed, very physically strong. I don't know, and here's the question mark, I don't know if that language style that Savannah Marshall has got, that Hughie Fury has, is going to be her own undoing against Clarissa Shields.
Right. Do you think she's going to be aggressive and get in there and land some shots?
I don't know if that style is going to leave her open to Clarissa Shields' overhand rights and punches, because Shields is going to come at her like a dog in heat. I'm telling you. And the thing is, I don't know if that style, it might work at a certain level, but I have question marks about if that style is effective enough against a hustler who can punch. I just don't. I see Shields being beating Marshall to the punch. I just see Shields being that much more active. And I think the style that Marshall's got really relies on her to have distance and space to flick the jab and to throw the right hand and to pose and to look. I think Shields is more active, throws more punches, more combination punches, and he's going to get inside, and I think he's going to land a lot of hurtful punches, and he's going to really test the defense of Savannah Marshall, and that's the problem I have for that fight for Savannah.
What about the lead up and the opponents that Savannah Marshall's been fighting? I mean, we know Clarissa Shields is, women's boxing isn't very deep, right? But Clarissa Shields has been in and dominated the likes of Christina Hammer. Now, Savannah Marshall, right, was supposed to be on Barry Hearn's fight camp, fighting in Barry's back garden, right? And it was like a week up to the fight, and they still hadn't got on her opponent. Now, well, maybe some of that was due to the fact that she was due to sign with Sky. But if you look at the opponents, I mean, she won a vacant WBO belt as far as I'm aware. And next defense after that was against Christina Lindov, who apparently is a part-timer. She's not really a full-time boxer, a talented boxer, but someone who's a bit of a part-timer. Is she really had any seasoning at all to the point where you can be confident to throw her in the ring with?
That's what I'm saying. And some of the stories I've heard, I don't know if they're true, but the stories I've heard is that she doesn't really want that fight.
Really?
And because they were, remember, if you look at Savannah Marshall, wasn't she going to take a fight either at light heavyweight or take a fight at a lower weight division?
I can't remember.
She was going to take a world title shot at a lower weight division, or I think a lower weight division, and then she went up as high as light heavyweight.
I'm just looking at her opponents list. Sorry. Just looking at this here. She's fighting Lolita. Do you know who this person is? Lolita Musee in the Newcastle Arena.
What's the record?
Let's have a look.
There's a guy that fought
16-0. To be fair, she's 16-0 with 8 KOs. But if you have a look at the record looks good. Now, with all due respect, we can both say this because we're both brothers of skin color. If you look at these names here and the places where they've been fought, I mean, she has 3 victories, right? 3 of her victories come against the same opponent, all in a row. Anisha Bashir. She fought this person 3 times. So yeah.
Do you know why that is?
Why?
Lack of opponents. Lack of female fighters.
Right.
She fight the same person 3 times.
Right. Okay. All right. Let me quickly. I'm going to quickly dash off in a minute, but I'll ask you one more. Kenny from Bwtm's got a question. This is quite interesting. Yard and Arthur rematch. Now, you've probably seen from Michael Benson's page, it's looking like there's a bit of a rift between Lyndon Arthur and Frank Warren, according to some reporting. And I believe in it. It came from Mike Coppinger, right? So it came from Mike Coppinger. It was stolen by Michael Benson. And basically the rule is if it comes from Mike Coppinger, it comes from Eddie Hearn. Because basically, you know, like I said before, Eddie Hearn uses a little bum boy, Mike Coppinger. The two are best mates on WhatsApp. And Eddie's always feeding him little stories in the background. And then Mike Coppinger goes and prints them off as exclusives on The Athletic or ESPN or wherever he is now. So apparently there's a bit of beef between Lyndon Arthur and Frank Warren. And Frank Warren's basically given Lyndon Arthur an ultimatum. He's basically got to tell Frank for the next week or so if he's going to take the fight or if he's not going to take the fight. But there's a big feeling that there's a lot of discontentment between Arthur and Warren. Basically, Arthur doesn't feel like he should have to fight Yard again. Warren wants the fight to happen. I think you probably end up seeing Lyndon Arthur on a Sky or a DAZN card near you. What do you think about that situation? Who do you think wins the fight?
First and foremost, I think that Yard had the opportunity to fight Arthur, and Yard went in as the golden boy, right? Yard was the guy that everyone expected Arthur to get blown away. I told everyone that Arthur was going to beat Yard. They didn't believe me. We all saw what happened. Arthur basically won the fight with a jab.
I haven't actually seen that fight, by the way. I haven't seen that fight, so I should have seen it. But carry on, Ingram. Yeah, I know he dominated with the jab.
So now the rematch. Okay. First of all, I don't think Lyndon Arthur should have to fight Anthony Yard again. I don't. He's the champion. He beat Anthony Yard. And if Anthony Yard beat Lyndon Arthur, I can assure you that Yard would not have to fight Arthur again, right? So for me, if I were Lyndon Arthur, I'd say, screw you, screw the Commonwealth belt, whatever belt it is, screw the Commonwealth belt, I'm going to fight elsewhere. That leaves Yard in a situation where he's been beaten by two guys. Kovalev, he's not going to rematch. And Arthur, he's not going to fight. And let Arthur go on and do what he's got to do. Actually, I actually think Arthur is like an old school fighter. I would back him to become a world champion faster than back Yard to become a world champion.
I did see Lyndon Arthur's last fight. I didn't see his fight with Anthony Yard. I did see his last fight. I did see bits and bobs of his last fight on BT Sport. I personally didn't think he looked impressive to me in that fight. I don't think he looked like, to me, a fighter that looks like he's going to be knocking on the door. Well, as long as you've got guys like Bwtm, who are absolute killers. I mean, these guys are killers, right? Ruling the roof. It doesn't look to me.
Bwtm. Now, let's be honest. Now, a lot of people talk about this guy, but let me take you back to a guy that I rate very, very highly and needs to be bloody managed properly. Is Callum Johnson. Callum Johnson fought him and backed him up and dropped his ass. And if Callum Johnson was fit, he would have knocked him out.
I gave Callum Johnson zero chance in that fight. I thought I gave him zero chance against Bwtm. Zero chance. Right. He had him hurt bad. You know, he had him hurt bad.
Right, and Bwtm cannot fight off the back foot. That was proven. When you back his ass up, he cannot fight off that back foot. Bwtm is a good fighter, but he's aging. He's getting older. He's not the same fighter. So that's something we need to consider there. I think Arthur versus Joe Smith is a damn good fight. It's a damn good fight. I'd rather watch Arthur versus Joe Smith than Yard versus Joe Smith, because I'll tell you one thing. Arthur will dig deep and he will adjust his style. Arthur can fight in many different ways. Yard can only fight one way. We'll have to see what Yard can do with James Cook in his corner.
Right. Yeah.
Because if Yard cannot change his style, I mean, Yard is, for me, he's a pay-per-view, what do they call it? Pay-per-view.
Yeah. We said this before when we talked about guys in British boxing who could potentially be the next biggest thing. You know, if the stars aligned, he's got everything: the look, the physique, the way he fights. He's got everything.
But actually, can he fight when it's necessary?
Right.
That's the question. Can he fight when it's necessary? When the chips are down and things are not going his way, can he beat him?
Let me ask you, do you think, my thing is, I don't think with Arthur, I think if he'd have gone out in that last fight on BT Sport, right, against that opponent, put on a real performance, got him out of there, looked good, got the crowd involved, you know, went in there and did a real job, right? I think he'd have got in there and put a performance, he'd have given Frank Warren no rope. He'd have given Frank no rope. There would have been no hope of a rematch. You could have said, right, you know, you can see that I'm doing the job. I'm clearly moving on. I think because he didn't put on a great performance, I don't think because he looked like advertised billing on that fight, I think that gave Frank the excuse he needed to say, well, actually, you're not really that far ahead of Yard. So that's a big fight. We want to do that again.
Hold on. Who's the champion?
No, listen. By the way, let me get this straight.
I know what you're saying.
I can see what you're saying. I think Warren, to be honest, his loyalties. I'm not saying he's not loyal to Lyndon Arthur, but I do think he's got Yarde and Dubois are two guys that Frank Warren will ride to the end of the earth. And I agree with you. These promoters don't care about fighters in general. Look, it's all about making a quick buck, yeah? But I just think with Frank Warren, I think Yarde and Dubois are two fighters more than any other fighter that I think Frank will literally ride or die for Yarde and Dubois. I think we saw that with what happened with Dubois and when Dubois' eye socket got shattered and Frank, to be fair, stood by him through thick and through thin and maneuvered him and pretty much got him back on the verge of a world title shot straight away. I think Frank would move mountains for Daniel Dubois. And I think it's the same with Yarde, you know. I think he does prefer Yarde out of the two. I think he thinks Yarde's that got more potential. And he had Anthony from a very, very young age. Anthony didn't have a lot of amateur fights. And I agree. I do think Frank is biased towards Yarde. So, sorry.
Remember something else.
That's my opinion.
Arthur also, his trainer is Pat Barrett, who's got Black Flash Promotions. He's a promoter himself.
Yeah, but they were working with Queensbury. Originally, Black Flash Promotions had an agreement with Queensbury. And there was supposed to be a deal where Black Flash Promotions would be doing their shows, but they'd be getting their fighters and they'd be pushing them through and they'd be signing with Queensbury. So it's kind of like a filter program, but I'm not sure if that's still on now.
Now, that's another thing to add to the mix as well.
Right.
You know, there's that sort of bullying. I'm a big time promoter. You'll do as I say or else. And they're like, you look at Arthur. He always talks like he's got a chip on his shoulder. You know, and then he's a hard sell. But he's a quality fighter. I have much more faith in Arthur in a world title fight in the future than
Yarde.
Than Yarde or Bwtm.
Then Bwtm. I would say Bwtm looks to me like the best of the three right now. No.
No. He's still Bwtm is still defensively irresponsible. The one thing I did like is cross-arm defense, but he hasn't shown me yet that he has got what it takes to take that next step up. I don't think he beats Callum Johnson. I think Callum Johnson knocks him out. But we'll wait and see. If Callum Johnson can get 2-3 fights behind him, show a bit of discipline, get some fights, get some match fitness, Johnson will knock Bwtm out.
Quickly before we go, Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois, not in the rematch, but just your general thoughts on where they're going in their careers. Do you know what? I was very shocked to see that Joe Joyce signed an extension to his promotional agreement with Frank Warren. I'm very shocked because I thought the plan was, we all know that Warren had the option on him as part of getting a Dubois fight. So that's the reason why he ended up with Frank, because Frank had the option with him. I thought what Sam Jones's game plan was going to be is have him fight a couple of knockovers on BT Sport, and basically, and that's it, and then go and sign with Eddie. That's what I thought. I thought you're not going to see no big fights. I thought that was the plan from Sam Jones from the get-go. We know Frank's got the option, but we're not going to do any big fights. Knock over a couple of Eastern European cab drivers in the middle of nowhere, and then as soon as the agreement's over, go and sign with Eddie Hearn, where Florian Marco ended up signing with, and go and end up there. And to my shock, Joyce ended up signing an extension to his promotional agreement. And let me just quickly say before we jump in, people slagged off Frank left, right, and center for his comments after the Dubois fight. They're saying how Frank hates Joe Joyce and Frank's trying to sabotage Joe Joyce's career. Well, Joe Joyce must be happy with the job that Frank's done for him because he's just signed an extension.
Well, any smart person will tell you not to sign with Eddie. Eddie's golden boy is Anthony Joshua. So they're going to protect Anthony Joshua as much as possible. Joe Joyce is not going to get a fight with Anthony Joshua anytime soon. And then you've got Dillian Whyte. And you see the way they've treated Dillian Whyte. Do you really want to be going to Matchroom?
I'm shocked, Ingham. I'm completely shocked. Honestly, when I saw that announcement, I thought it was nailed on. That Joe Joyce is going to be a matchroom fighter. I just thought that was just only a matter of time.
Sam Jones is a lot of people don't like Sam Jones because of the way he comes over, But Sam Jones is a very, very shrewd, smart, knows his box. One of the very few people who actually really knows boxing and speaks his mind. Sam Jones. There's a reason why they didn't sign with Matchroom. That might have looked like it before, but he's looked and said, "Look, let's look at the landscape." I can imagine Sam Jones in the room going, "Let's look at the landscape. We've got Anthony Joshua, we've got Dillian Whyte. Let's look at what they've done with Anthony Joshua." Okay, and you know that Anthony Joshua is Eddie's golden boy,
of course, yeah.
And then we look at Dillian Whyte. Well, he's had 1,000 days. He's still had a world title fight yet. So where the hell are we going to fit into that mix?
I think also what might have swung it was the way that Frank positioned Joe Joyce with WBO, and how quickly he managed to get him into that position and enforce him as the mandatory.
Yep. You know, fight I wouldn't mind seeing Joe Joyce versus Joseph Parker.
Oh, yeah. Doable. Absolutely. That'd be a fucking great fight to watch. Listen, I think Joe Joyce is an accident away. I don't think he's got any chance to beat Anthony Joshua. That's my opinion. I don't think he's got a catch chance in hell of beating Anthony Joshua. I think Anthony Joshua would get Joe Joyce. I know Joe Joyce has got a chin and everything like that, but I think there's a big difference in the way that Anthony Joshua punches compared to the way that Daniel Dubois punches, you know? And I just think it's just... it's only going to be a matter of time in that fight. But I don't expect that fight to happen at all. I don't think we'll even have to worry about that because I don't think that fight will ever happen.
I think Joe Joyce is a heavyweight champion of the world in waiting. That's what I think.
Really?
I do. A lot of people are not seeing Joe Joyce. I know he's not Lennox Lewis. I'm not going to say he's Lennox Lewis. But the way Joe Joyce's career is the way a lot of the way Lennox Lewis's career was. Lennox Lewis, all the stuff he was doing, people always criticized Lennox for doing this and doing that. And he was softly spoken. He didn't really capture the imagination of the British fans. And even when he fought Frank Bruner, that pissed him off even more. Joe Joyce has got that sort of career. People put up with him. They tolerate Joe Joyce, but they don't really like Joe Joyce. They prefer Anthony Joshua. They'll take Dillian Whyte over Joe Joyce. Don't ask me why that is. Is it because of Sam Jones? I don't know. But Joe Joyce is that third guy in the pecking list. But out of the three of them, this guy I believe Joe Joyce is going to go on to be world champion. I mean, I think he can beat Trevor Bryant right now. You stuck Trevor Bryant and him in the ring now, he'd knock Trevor Bryant out. There's not a lot of guys I think in the heavyweight division can beat. This guy should be a gold medalist, a genuine gold medalist, not like Anthony Joshua. This guy, a lot of people are sleeping on Joe Joyce. He punches very hard. He's got a great chin. He's got a fantastic work ethic, a work engine. He can do the 12 rounds. I mean, look at his record. He's only had 13 or 14 fights as a pro. Look at the names he's had on his resume. Look at his resume.
Good names. And also, just to finish off, before we get to final thoughts, Dubois, how do you think about the way Dubois is being pushed and what do you see in the future for him?
Dubois reminds me of Frank Bruner all over again. He fights guys that he's knockover jobs, and then when he fights somebody decent, he gets turned over. I hope that Frank does the right thing and puts Dubois in some testing fights with guys who can take his punching power, and he has to adjust and make adjustments on the fly. That's what I want to see with Daniel Dubois, some emotional intelligence. I don't just want to see crash bang wallet, because even in that crash bang wallet fight in the first round, he showed himself to be defensively irresponsible. He was getting caught with big shots in that first round. Make no mistake about it. He was getting caught by that Italian before he knocked out the Italian. And you can't be walking into those sort of right hands against guys like Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz. You can't be doing that against those type of guys. That Italian, nobody cared for him. He had a knockout record, but nobody cared about who that Italian was. It looked great for Dubois' entrance to the heavyweight division in America, but let's remember, in that debut he made, he was getting caught with big punches. And the heavyweight division, you can't afford to get hit with them big punches. And has he learned his lesson from what happened with Joe Joyce? I'm not so sure if he did, because I know a lot of people are filling his head with, you were winning that fight, mate, until the eye injury. You were in that fight. You were winning it. You were up on the scorecard. And if people are believing that, then let them continue to believe that.
Right. Ingram, that's going to be it. I'm going to go for final thoughts in a second. Let me just say my final thoughts and then Ingram's final thoughts, and then we're on the show. Thanks for coming on. Listen, I thought we were going to do bigger numbers, actually. Last night we did close to 80. So I hope I haven't got you here under false pretenses. But the game plan, will be simple. I'm hoping, that, like I said, we're still getting quite a few subscribers. I think really we've only started doing proper shows since last week, really. So it's been a week, getting a few subs in. Hopefully you get the numbers up. And if the numbers are good, Ingram, it would be great to get you on to do a post-fight for Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk. If you can or if you will, I'll ask you close for the time. But I'll tell you now, like the post-fight for Anthony Joshua versus Usyk, literally you'll be the first name on the list. And the only other guy who'll probably be in there is possibly Shevin.
Listen, let me talk to you about this Anthony Joshua thing. The more I watch this clown, the more I think to myself, he's going to get himself knocked out. The way he's talking, the way he's acting, He suddenly become Professor Anthony Joshua. That man has to go out there and blast Usyk out of there. But he's and box Usyk. And if he tries to box Usyk, he's going to get himself knocked out. He deserves to get himself knocked out. He's got to go out there and be the big man and get Usyk out of there. I'm the heavyweight champion of the world. I'm the big man. I'm going to knock you out and show you that you need to be back in the cruiserweight division. And at the moment, he sounds like he wants to box Alexander Usyk. And if he does that, he's an idiot.
A lot of the pundits who are calling this fight, right? They are saying that Anthony Joshua needs to go in and be the big man and treat him like the big man and go in there, put the pressure on, put the front foot on, put the shots together, and just be very aggressive in the fight. You look at Anthony Joshua in these recent pictures. It's quite clear. He's lost a lot of muscle mass there. He's very, very streamlined. Probably the smallest I've ever seen him in a professional boxing ring. And I think he's made it very, very clear that he's going to go for stamina and go for the distance. I'm not sure. We'll talk about that at a later date. When that fight first got announced, a lot of people are loving your Professor Anthony Joshua. I used to call him the next version of Nelson Mandela, but we'll talk about that when we did the post. You're good. What Hercules? Because he said he wanted to go into politics. I don't even remember. I talked about that on that show. He said he wanted to go into politics, God. Which is funny because he can barely string two fucking words together. But anyway,
his option is it's option 2. Yeah, we go with option 2.
Wow. Hopefully,
military mindset.
Hopefully, it's a bit easier than when he got on that mic last time and nearly caused a ruckus by saying that black people need to stop sucking white shots. Last time he got picked on the fucking mic. There's a fucking writer for that, man. Because it's white people that are buying these pay-per-views. Do you know what I mean? And so,
not only that, if you looked at Anthony Joshua when he started his career, he had bare white people around. Not being racist, he had bare white people around him.
Yeah. His manager, obviously, Freddie Cunningham.
Yeah, since he got knocked out, he became blacker. He remembered where Africa was. He remembered where Nigeria was. It's like Andy's knocked some sense into him. So now he's Nigerian. Now he's
the first thing he did was go back to Nigeria, wasn't he? After he got beat by Nigerians, didn't he? The first thing he did was go back to Nigeria, didn't he? Spend time with his people.
But he never did that when he was world champion.
Bloody hell! Listen, let me tell you something, guys. That's it from me, guys. The game plan is very, very simple. We'll do a few shows here and there. Hopefully, we can get some sub numbers up, guys. If you see some of the previous subscribers, send them the link. So I don't know why I'm echoing. Bwtm Sports, you can see here. Bwtm Sports. I'll post the link in the description box, but you all know where it is anyway. Why am I echoing?
No idea.
Right, okay, I'm just going to turn the mic down, so I won't be able to hear you. But just give me 1 sec, right? So, guys, for me, all right, I'm going to say my bit, and I'm going to give Ingham the final word. Plan for me is very, very simple. 3 weeks' time, we've got Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk, right? I want us to get to a point where we can get 100 plus concurrent live people in that stream or plus. So I'll be doing a couple of build-up videos. Very, very simple. The post-fight, we'll do the fight, but the post-fight team will be myself. Hopefully, Ingham will come on if he's got the time. And Shevin. Those will be the 3 guys doing it. I've got all the episodes planned. I've got everything sorted out. Ingham, final words?
I'd rather brawns of a brain against Usyk for Anthony Joshua and cut all that Professor Joshua shit out. We need him to be like Hulk. We need the Hulk in Anthony Joshua. Not the brainy Hulk, but the immortal Hulk. We don't need Professor Joshua. We need Hercules. Because I just don't think if he goes and tries to be intelligent against Usyk and get clever, he's gonna be losing that world title, and he's gonna be talking about option 2 and 3 again, and whether he should be sticking with McCracken and all this bullshit. So, if Joshua loses to Usyk, oh boy.
Wait and see. And listen, British boxing depends on AJ winning because, let's be honest, once he goes, we ain't got much else. I mean, listen, it's a slippery slope if he gets knocked out. We're going to be looking forward to fucking Liam Beefy Smith and Anthony Fowler on pay-per-view. That's what it's going to get to. So pray for AJ, yeah?
Pray for AJ, yeah. Pray for AJ. That's it. Hashtag pray for AJ. And hashtag say no to Professor Joshua.
All right, right, Ingram. Till next time. Take care, my brother.
My brother, take care. All the best.
All right. See you later.